Yo guys, welcome to another live session, but some of you might be watching this as video, so a video or live session depending on whenever you guys turn up. It's good to be back, doing stuff again. I've had a couple of days off. It's been pretty busy at work, so busy, I would say manic actually. It's been hectic, and I was seriously burnt out this week, just not from code, just physically burnt out. So yeah, I had to take a day or two just to recover essentially. So yeah, I've just kind of been, well, actually I suppose yesterday I did quite a bit of work. The day before Friday, no, we're on Friday, Thursday into Friday, after work I just kind of spent the whole evening just in front of Netflix watching a new series, The One. If anyone's seen that, it's very interesting actually. I quite like the concept. So yeah, and then Friday, like, yeah, I was really out of it. I didn't sleep that night, so that's kind of why I ended up in front of Netflix. I just couldn't sleep. Don't know, just a lot of aches and pains, and so I called in sick and spent Friday essentially just designing. So I have really made a fair bit of progress, which I'm happy with actually, and I'll show you now as we are in the Figma file. So this, for anyone that's been kind of following all of these through, you would have seen the design file before, and you can obviously you'll be able to notice the difference between what we have in these different pages. So for the style guide, for example, you'll see firstly it just looks more organized. So I need to try not to laugh in the mic too much. I've turned up the signal, so I'm trying not to let it distort, but I apologize if the audio quality is suffering from me. I'm going to try not to be too close. So yeah, I've kind of fixed this, not fixed this, but I've cleaned it up a lot more. Essentially, because these were here before, I've just bundled them together. So that's this like swatch component and the shade component, as well as the like color contrast component as well. It's not really a component, it's just a little frame that helps us to test the foreground and background colors. Like I said, anyone that's been in this before would know what I'm talking about. I kind of demonstrated it quickly. So these are essentially helpers, and I've kind of just tried to put everything in its own like little sort of section. So those are kind of like my helper elements, components, whatever you would wish to call them. And then I thought, just for it to be helpful really, it would be nice to have our color palette laid out. And obviously I've tried to do something interesting here. I'm not really sure how good that looks, but I would have gone with like the standard like that standard palette you get like in things like Adobe Color or colors with like the double O. But I thought, you know what, like, let's do something different. I thought, let's try and make it look cool. Yeah, by the way, I was talking about something like this. So this is like my colors profile. So these are all the same colors. But the reason I did this actually, and this is kind of silly, you might laugh at me, but the reason I did this, if I open in Generator, get rid of that tab, so you can see like here, you just hide that. You can see, oh no you can't, oh no yes you can. You can see down here you've got like, it's given it names, and I just like having names for my colors. I don't know why. The funny thing is that I didn't really go with hardly any of these. I think the only one I went with was Burnt Sienna. If I even went for that, I don't know if I did actually. Let's have a look. So yeah, we can jump down here now. And by the way, yeah, just obviously put here the font is Sora. Spoke about that before as well. Yeah, I mean, purple and teal, I thought that was just, it's fine. You don't really need to, I didn't need to come up with any more kind of terms. Like that's, for me, it's clearly those colors. Maybe teal's a bit lighter, but, it's fine. Yeah, I did go with Burnt Sienna. I just thought it's just a nice name. I went with like Cloudy White because it's slightly off-white. So I thought that could be fitting. I went with Coal Black. Might not be quite Coal Black, but for me it's like close enough. So for the accents, for the focus accent, we've got Sky Blue here. For the success state on the light mode, we've got pea green, and then on the dark mode, emerald, and for the error on the light mode, we've got ruby red, and for error on dark mode, we've got rose. So I like the whole naming thing. I like naming my CSS colors. Okay, so just leave me alone. But just checking the chat to make sure I'm not ignoring anyone. So yeah, this is what I added. I added this accents section, so that's part of the work I did on Friday. What else did I do? And then I moved this typography back into the style guide. So it wasn't the components, but it made more sense just to have this live in the style guides. These were components before, like this whole, not the mobile styles, but the desktop styles. This whole frame, like all of the elements in this frame were all components. And it was kind of messing with our library a bit. So anyone that's been following these before would know that I've like published a library, and if you don't know what that is in Figma, it's essentially what you have when you've got like a team. I don't know if I'd say team subscription, but like a paid subscription, you get you have the ability to publish. So I've got so much wind, it's crazy. You have the ability to publish your like file essentially, and open it up essentially for anyone to use basically. So what's really cool about it is that, you know, when you create components and things like that, they actually show up here globally so that you can bring them into your files, etc. So for me, obviously right now I'm working with this natively, so it's, you know, it's basically in my own local file. But what's nice is that everything here is very much like, it's very nicely kind of well kept. It's sort of organized in a way that it allows for me to, like, when I'm creating mockups, to bring in only what I need, and you know, I don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel, you know, create added complexity for no reason. I can just take, you know, the components I've already created and, you know, build bigger and more complex structures out of them. So that's kind of the power of having this library system. And it also allows for, like, let's say, because I spoke about this before as well, if, you know, say someone wanted to contribute on design, like, you know, they had, maybe somewhere in the repo, I've got an issue that talks about like a potential feature, but I haven't even got around to thinking about the designs yet, you know, and I open up, you know, does anyone, you know, if anyone has any ideas for design, you know, feel free to, you know, use the library to create your own components. And you can do that. You can sort of go and find this library, and you could essentially, you know, build out some ideas, and then we can look at ways to kind of merge that or hand that off into sort of code, you know, and I imagine, you know, potentially the person will want to approach that themselves as well, but that's kind of the idea. Like this as well, like this shouldn't be here. I might just clear this up now so you can just see, you know, this is kind of just a quick kind of demo of how you would get rid of something like this, you know, something that you don't want in the design system anymore, because when I was doing that work, I was obviously doing it away from here, so yeah, it might be helpful just to show you how to get rid of this guy. So if I go into the page in question, which was the mockup, and so I don't want that to come up there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna hold control. If I hold control and click, it like goes down to like the actual element, or if it's text, it'll go down to that text size, no matter how far it's nested down, which is what I love about Figma. It's a very very nice feature that you can just hit control, hover over something, and it will like select that feature, and it can, obviously it's working here. So what I can do is, now I'm into this, now I can click outside of it. Nice, you've got the menu icon, and now you can see it's highlighted in purple, which means that it's a component. So whenever you see something highlighted in purple and it's got these 4 things around it, it's a component. If I duplicate this and it's got like this like diamond that hasn't got the 4 different parts in it, then obviously that's just an instance of that component. So, you know, what we want is the component, essentially, because this is what's showing up in our system. You know, and this is like another cool trick. So guys, if like you were creating some like mockups and you actually just needed something that you need to reuse across the pages within your mockup, I mean, maybe that would be like a necessary use case. I don't really know, to be honest. you can just add an underscore or a dot. We'll try with underscore. So you can see the assets now has this dot next to it, which means you made a change. And now you'll see that this book icon has this blue dot, which is that change. And now you can see on our portfolio, we've got this button that says publish one change. And we can take a look at that. So when we click on it, it's going to tell us a change. And it says, as you can see here quite clearly, removed. And so that's just pointing to the fact that we've added the underscore. So what it actually does is that it removes it from our library, essentially from our design system. So, well, component library actually would probably be a better way to put it. But what it does do is that it makes it private to this file now. I don't think we can see it yet. But if I hit publish and we go back to this book and hit it and we click on Portfolio V2, you can see it's gone now. Okay. But like if we still wanted to use it, what's cool is that we can come down to this left side. So what you have, like where you bring in external libraries, actually, hold on, I'm going to see, is there a way that, no. So because we're working with it in the same file, like we're essentially just getting everything from here. I'm going to look into seeing if there's a way that we can get it to kind of show up here, but like local components, component library. Yeah, I mean, we can just do it from this anyway, but like, obviously I kind of prefer the other way. Oh no, here we go. Yeah, no, we can still, like, so that's local components. We can still access, all of these things. The only thing I'm wondering is how to access these, like color styles and things like that. But I think that we actually just do that we bring that in kind of, maybe in a different way. And I suppose because they're already defined in here, like there wouldn't be any need for us to like do that. I have brought them into other files, so you know it definitely does work with the text styles and color styles. But as far as components go, yeah. So if you're actually looking for them in this side drop down, they will be under local components and in components. If that's where. Well, essentially, I think that's like a default thing. You'll have components, and then you'll have things that are private to the file. So here are all of our components, and you can just click on one. Oh, that takes you to the component. That's really cool, isn't it? And so, wow, that's really, really cool, actually. So it takes you to the component. That's pretty cool. Oh, I'm showing you a bit too much. Okay, I shouldn't be showing you this much because I'm supposed to be coming onto this bit. So going back to here. What was I just talking about? Yeah, so I was just talking about, how we can kind of get things private to the file. So essentially, I gave that thing an underscore. So now, if we go into mockup, you can see now that actually appears here because it's private to this file, which means that we can reuse it within this file. We can use it as a component in this file as well. So we can still have the component functionality, but what it just means is that it's now not exported to our library, so that because this is not something else we would need someone to see if this is our own like mock-up, and someone else wanted to use our like style guide and such and styles to create something. They don't need to know about these pages if they're not going to be like working with them essentially. So that's just a nice way that you can hide things if you need to. You can also add a like dot, so we can say dot menu icon, and you can see nothing changes, but it's still local to this file. So yeah, it's cool. Very, very helpful tool there from Figma. So, or tool, I suppose it's like a concept or way of working, however you want to put it. So that's how I essentially have been working. It's just been trying to clear things up, give things more clarity. As we start moving into actually building things, I wanted to really hone in on the design file and get things a lot more structured, essentially. So, just looking at the time. Okay, yeah. So, I brought in the typography. I also had, changed some font things around. I just had like a very boring, basic file where I was testing out some fonts and stuff. I feel like I need to be a bit more central. Sorry, just hit my mic there. That's a bit better. And so yeah, I thought it might be useful just to have this little type pairing thing. This I brought from the little playground when I was just testing out some fonts before I ended up settling for Sora. I just thought I'd just bring that in, just as just to show. And I thought I'd show it with some context. So this will be like the hero text. This will be the big text on our homepage that we're going to see. So it's one of the most important sort of aspects as far as like elements go. We'll sort of have this as being like one of the main key pieces or key features on our homepage and on our entire app. So I thought it just made sense to maybe have that, give it that context for the type pairing, so we can see it like within its own context, rather than like heading and like some body text or something, or some lorem ipsum. I mean, that would still work just as fine, but I thought, as you've already got it there, let's just use that. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but we've got Chakra styles here, and this really is just more for the sake of consideration, just to show some considerations that I've had in terms of like building the type scale. So it's very, very much based, in terms of scaling down, it's very much based on Chakra's type scale. It's not quite the same. For like the H1, I've gone one up, I think, from this. I feel like the largest is 72. I might be wrong, but it's definitely a bit higher up. And yeah, so spacing, isn't necessarily, and like, I'm guessing, so this isn't like the right way around, of course. But this is just an idea of some spacing. So once I rearrange this with my eyes eventually, it might be helpful to kind of take this into account. But essentially, like, I've always got the 8, like, is it 8-point scale in mind? I think the 8-point scale, or 4-point, I can't remember. But like, this is just something to consider, just to have like a system to define margins and paddings, and then also just some color styles. Again, like I said, just considerations. The color styles were just helping us to develop sort of key styles in palettes and stuff like that. So I thought it just made sense to have it on here, because that's been a really helpful thing for me, even though I haven't always gone with like those particular palettes. And so I mentioned typography. Yeah, we've got the mobile, we've got desktop, and we've got mobile. And then lastly, we've got grid styles. So these are just, of course, the grids that we're going to be working with in our design to sort of help us build our layout. Who do you think? Jake Paul. Are they YouTubers? Welcome, by the way. I know the name of Jake. Like, I'm sorry, I don't really know much about YouTubers, but like, so what's happening? Is it a fight? Okay, so, oh damn, so they're actually having a boxing match. Oh wow, so when's this? Okay, what is this? Oh, okay, this is tonight. Wow. 4 hours. Wow. So what's that UK time? It's gonna be like 2 a.m. here. I'll probably still be awake, like working with some APIs and stuff. So, yeah, I'll probably have it on the side. I don't know. Who do you think is gonna win? Sorry, I'm just trying to catch your name. My eyes. Victor. Yeah. Who do you think is gonna win, Victor? Oh, okay. Man, that should be an interesting fight to see then. Yeah, I didn't really know about it, but that's really interesting. Man, that's cool. But yeah, I'm just kind of running through some designs right now for my portfolio project. I'm just sort of showing the kind of work I've been up to recently, just cleaning up the design file. Really, all of this was like a mess before, but it's a bit more tidier now. Maybe not optimal, but like it will do. So that's done. I also finally added the rest of the components that I needed, at least for now, and to the component library. So before, like, I didn't have all of this. I didn't have this newsletter card, but I got these all kind of finished out. So these are different variants, and I've been working with variants a lot. And just to show you like the power of variants, I've shown this before, but it actually really helps to give it some context. Just to actually show you how you can work with variants in Figma. So I won't show you necessarily how to create them, but I'll show you like what you can do with them. I think in a separate video I'll actually show you how to create them from scratch, and it is like pretty straightforward using Chakra UI. Yeah, so I'm going to be using Chakra UI to build it. But what I've done basically, Victor, is that I've created my own style guide. So like all of this here, like, these are my own kind of styles just based off personal preference. And what I'm actually going to do is that I'm going to use Chakra UI's kind of system and build my own like style guide on top of that. So essentially it's like I'm just going to replace things where I need to, and then the rest I can sort of leave. I'll leave the rest to Chakra because I quite like the default styling, but there's just a few like opinions I have in terms of design where like in terms of colors and stuff like that. And shortly I'm going to be jumping into the code, so I'll be showing how I'm actually going to do that. Just beforehand I was just running through this design file and just showing some of the components that I'll be like creating. So the first thing we're going to be doing with code, like code wise, is actually taking these buttons here, and so we're basically going to be messing with the Chakra UI like default theme. So we're going to customize the Chakra theme, because what you can do is that, so you know with Chakra you have like they have their own default button which has its own sizes, it has its own style properties, and we can actually customize that to include our own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to customize it so that it inherits the styles that we define in this Figma file instead, and then we can create these different variants essentially based off that. You know, I don't know how well that's going to work, but I've kind of looked into it, and it does seem doable, so gonna give it a shot. But yeah, just to show you like what you can do with variants and stuff, and how quick you can build stuff out. So like I showed it before, but I think the button's a really good example. So I'm actually just gonna remove this button for a second, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add it back in. So I can just go to my assets here, and then local components, and then you see we've got this button one here, and I can just click on that. That takes me back to the button, but that's not where I want to be. I'll go back to the mockup. So you just drag the button in. So we've got the button there, and what's cool now is that I can take that button and drag it back where it was before, which I think was there. Right, and what's cool now is I can take this button, and now if you look on the right hand side here, which I think it's being covered, so I'm going to resize this. Oh damn, my bad. Probably should have like resized this some more. Just realized I've had the same beat playing over and over again. My bad. And let me I've just found like a kind of random like lo-fi playlist. Alright, that should be showing up. Right, there we go. So if you're interested in seeing the tunes I'm listening to, they're there. So yeah, back to this. So what's cool about this is like all of these buttons. So if I actually go back here and click on this button to take me back to here, all of these buttons here, they're all the same button. They're actually not separate. In like essentially they're not separate. Like in a way they are, but they're not. Like it's all just one button, but different variations of it. So as you can see here, like there's just one button thing here. And these are literally just the different like variants of that same one button component, or at least that's the kind of thinking around it. So when I come back into the mockup now, I can change this to like be whatever I want. I can make it medium sized, I can make it small. I can say actually I want a secondary button now. I can change the state, so instead of default I can give it an icon. I can make it like focused. I can make it disabled. You know, I can see what it looks like as a hover, like, and this is all just done. We've taken a bunch of like different components and basically like merging them into like one by combining them as variants, and you just kind of get this functionality out of the box. That's just really nice. So yeah, it's real cool. It's real cool. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of it. So man, I need to let this chat clear out so it's not taking up too much space. But I'll do that later. Okay, so what we can do now, I'm just gonna do this like get in touch thing. So we've set up the pattern in a way that allows it to kind of stretch out where we need it to. And what's nice now is that we can just go and change the colors here. So we can go down to selection colors. I think this is a bit out of frame still. That's a bit better. We can go to like default, and now that's just back to how we had it. We can take this like further by adding like a whole like let's bring in this newsletter, right? Let's bring in this like whole last newsletter, which is obviously taking up a lot of space. I'll show you something that's pretty sick about it that like I've managed to do with it. So page container, let's get rid of all that. So we're actually thinking about the next component. So we want it to go under, and I've mentioned this on here before, and I just don't think I'll ever understand like this layering system, like how it goes like bottom up instead of top down. So like the top level components at the bottom, for me, it just doesn't make sense to me visually how like this newsletter is the bottom component, but it's at the top of this like layer. It just has always confused me. Figma gods, please like provide a way to, unless there's already a way to reverse this, I do not know how to do it. But what's cool now is that like I can just drag this in, and for some reason this isn't responding the way it should be, but we can kind of change these styles. So we don't want to fix width, we want it to fill the container, and what that's going to do is that that's just going to move with this. There we go. And so now we can just bring this in. I think, what's the kind of size we're going for? Okay, we're going for 343 there, so close enough. 349, 343. And then what we can do is we can hopefully align this. I think it's already aligned by default. Yeah, it's already aligned by default, which is really nice. So, and obviously this is like gone a bit weird. I'm gonna see, is there a way that we can just have a look at this text? What we doing? Field container. Okay, yeah, we can just hug contents for that, and we get this a bit nicer, maybe. Yeah, I think it's a bit nicer. And then what we can like do now is we can change the state. So say like somebody comes to subscribe, and like let's say they're already subscribed. We can now like change to this error, you've already subscribed, and we just do this with like the variants, like, and then they've put in their email and they've hit subscribe, it's all gone through, all good, and then it's like subscribed, you're on the mailing list. So you can just change it like between these states, and obviously we're creating these states manually, but like when you like put them into variants, you basically allow this functionality so that you can just switch between them, which just makes like building UIs, like, well, designing UIs and building up pages so much quicker in Figma. So that's just a quick like showcase for this tool. Yeah, so yeah, that's that. I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. I'll clean that up later. And yeah, so that's essentially what we've been doing with these components, is just making sure that I've actually just not been lazy and got on with, because I've been meaning to add a few more components. Like the main one really was this input. I'm still thinking like if there's like I feel like there might be one or two states that I could still add here, like this is an add-on state, but I think it'd be good to have like a double, like an add-on on the left and right, because sometimes you do have that. But really right now it's not like a primary concern, so I'm pretty happy with having these. And we can mess with like sizes later. Right now I think it's fine to keep it like this. I've just created like a really quick text area thing. So this is just more for like form. I've got it under form here. So it's just an idea for if someone, for like a get in touch form, we've got our inputs and we've got our text area here, and then we've got a button as well. Like those are obviously the key components for something like that. We've obviously created, these components that aren't like, they're not going to be like, your reusable components like buttons and stuff, but they are composed of things like buttons and, like, your headings and text, like body text and buttons and inputs. So, it's just helpful to build these out, and actually for the newsletter card, like I mentioned, it's just nice to have that as a variant. I doubt that we'll be building that from the ground up as like a reusable component itself. We'll probably just be actually doing that in the file. Might not make much sense now, but we'll like look at that when we come into it. And then it's just cleaning up some icon stuff as well. So I've just been doing that. And that's kind of mostly all good and ready to go. And I thought I would just, make sense to list some of the libraries I'm using for the icons. So for most of like the kind of tech and brand icons and stuff like that, I'm using simple icons. They've got like a ridiculous amount of icons that I couldn't find anywhere else, so it's helpful. And for these like kind of more like app, like basic icons, I was just using Ionicons. So that's kind of just my component library. It's pretty straightforward, but like I want to jump to the code now, so I think we can do that. So let's and one thing I also actually wanted to show, which I was kind of like mind blown about actually, and I didn't really know that, it's possible to do it. So a little while ago, I spoke about this on the last stream. A little while ago, I was not a little while ago, it was actually a few days ago. I was watching a live stream from Figma about design systems, and it's a series I've like followed for a while, like on and off. I'll sometimes just jump into it, and that guy Rogi, he's just usually like, actually I'll show you the file, like if you're interested. You can just check it out. I've still got it up. So like this is what he ended up building at the end. Like he built this throughout, but by the end of like the live stream series, I think it was like a good 5 episodes, maybe like an hour each, so a good 5 hours, something like that. He had ended up building like this design system where, similar to mine, you've got like the typography, got some type pairing kind of stuff going on here, some colors and stuff, color swatches, like helper components, more type stuff, scales, grids. So that's the style guide. And then in terms of components, it's really cool. He's got some inputs, different button states. Of course, this was obviously basic. He obviously had like limited time and stuff like that. But I think even as like a basic idea, it's really good. And I think it really, I learned quite a lot from it. So, and it definitely helped with this, with like in multiple places. It really did help me. So, big shout out. So, essentially, towards the end of that, he was speaking about using the Figma API, and I didn't really I didn't actually think about that. I didn't think about it as a concept of like, being able to actually take this data from your design file and potentially like either export it to like documentation, or if you really wanted to kind of go for it and actually allow it to like to have this connection between that and your code, so it actually like enables you to have this like seamless connection between like your Figma styles and your like CSS like properties and variables. Because what then happens is that like Figma, you can then just allow one thing to act as like a single source of truth. So like there's no, it kind of like minifies the design handoff process to an extent, where like, you have the design, you hand it off to this place, it gets downloaded there, or it gets like converted into a JSON file or something like that. And then the styles, then get taken from there, and something, obviously the process is different across like different teams and different products and stuff like that. Like, completely understand that. But to see like this approach where you could actually just essentially bring it into the code, and I know I mentioned the whole JSON thing just now, but I know that there's a way that we can actually generate like a JSON file in your code. And I was just reading an article on it by a guy called Pavel Laptev, and he, like, this guy is a genius. So he created a couple of different like plugins and cool tools. Like one of them is called JSON from Figma. So like when you're working with the Figma API, like when you get the data back, it's a bit like overwhelming because there's so many different like nested structures within it. But like when you put it in this JSON from Figma file, like what it does is that you give it your like access token and you give it your file key, and what it does is that it like generates, or it shows you all of the different like levels, and in a way that you can like open up each thing and you can see like, okay, what's under that. And it's a much easier way to view like, you know, your data, of course, than just having it like displayed out on the page, which is confusing as hell. So yeah, it's yeah, he's cool. He's created some cool stuff, man. And I was just reading an article not long before this about, I'm just trying to find it right now. So is it design tokens with Figma? No, that's not the one. No, it is though. Yeah, so take a look if anyone's interested in like design systems and UI and like working between design and like code in terms of like building front end frameworks and stuff like that. Definitely, this is definitely one to take a look at. He talks about essentially, yeah, like using Figma's API to generate design tokens like in your code, and like a few different things you can do, different functions that you can call, and like just quicker ways of working. Because I did a little test with the Figma API last night. Like I stayed up really late. I stayed up to like 6 a.m. This morning, and it's fine. I slept for like 3-4 hours. Like it was enough for me today. I got through, so it's all good. And so, yeah, like by the end of it, I'd finally got to the point where I'd managed to get something out of the Figma API. I managed to get like a bunch of my like primary color my main color names. Like that's all I managed to get. It took me ages just to kind of, because I was obviously, I'm building this in Next.js, so I did my own little test, and yeah, I mean, we kind of got there in the end. But it's cool. I'd say check this out. And this is something I'm looking into, but I didn't want to kind of just jump in there today without knowing exactly how things might work out. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to look into this like after this, and sort of after the next stream as well, and just get a better idea of how this might work, and then do a few tests. And if it looks like something that's definitely doable, then I think we can kind of go for it in a stream, because it would be really nice to get to a point like where, because the idea is essentially that you pull in this data from the API. So your styles, like these are all the styles and colors, text styles, all these things that you've created in your Figma file, and you essentially like you make a request and you get that data back. And then I think the idea from what he seems to be talking about is you call a series of functions to get like different data. So like you create a palette function to get like your color styles, to get those main color styles. You call one to get grids, you call one to get spaces and font styles, and then you merge all those tokens into one JSON file. And essentially from there, like you can call on the data in that file, where like your theme is, and then and I'm guessing, and my hope is that at some point in this, I'm going to find somewhere in this blog post, because I didn't read all of it, I'm hoping to find something where you have a script, because he did mention a script, where you have a script that you can run each time to update those tokens. Because what would you would then enable is that, like, as your like design tokens update, your like as your design tokens, as your styles in the Figma file update, so do your design tokens. and then you don't have to go and do like, you don't have to do something there and then do it in the code. Like you do it in the styles, and then you run a script and it's kind of just done. And it just enables much quicker working, and enables you to make, you know, a lot of tweaks quicker. And you know, I don't know about you guys, but like on my projects, I'm always bound to like make, you know, loads of tweaks. I mean, with this, in terms of like the style guide, you know, right now I'm feeling quite solid about the design decisions. I feel like they've been well informed. I've kind of, you know, I have given them a lot of consideration. You know, there's been a lot of thoughts around accessibility in terms of like color contrast, and thinking about sort of how things will work in light and dark themes. Yeah, just yeah, I'm quite happy to push forward with this. But of course, you know, there are things that are always subject to change. Maybe this tertiary color might change. I might change a few. Like, actually, this is, I've got this in the comments, so you can obviously add comments to these Figma files, which is like another cool feature. And somewhere around here, I said, okay, I don't think it was this one. Okay, yes, subject to change. We'll look around for different orange patterns. That was probably somewhere else in the file now, so that's just sitting there. But you know, that's something that might change. And so just for things like that, it would be nice to have like a streamlined process, just to, you know, do something once, and yeah, allow it to essentially just be streamlined. And obviously, yes, you might have to write a script, because it would make sense to kind of like, not for it to be directly going into the code, in case there's any errors. Like your whole, you know, essentially your whole like theme is relying on these values, and so if anything were to go wrong, then like it kind of will like mess up your theme. Potentially, I don't know entirely about it. I'm just making assumptions, I suppose, at this point. But let's get into some code, because we've been chatting for a while now, and I have a tendency just to go on, but it's all good. So let's get the portfolio back up. Well, let's just get the portfolio up, I suppose. Shift some stuff around. Okay. Right. So this is not what I'm looking for. This is my old portfolio. Yeah, I was also like, last night I was messing around with some like GraphQL servers. Like, I suppose initially the idea was, because I wasn't sure about how, you know, we'd be working with the Figma API. I just knew that, damn, like there's a lot of data that could potentially come in. Obviously, this way that Pavel Laptev is doing things, essentially, you know, it might remove the necessity to have a GraphQL, like the necessity that I felt was there before. I don't know for sure, but it seems like the way he's doing it seems very efficient in terms of like bringing in just what we need. Again, like I said, I don't know, but essentially, like, all of this is happening behind the scenes, so I don't think we need it for this, if I'm being completely honest, because if it's been run by a script, then we just call that when we need it, right? Like, we don't have to rely on this happening at build time, or like when you or in development. Like, we just, well, yeah, it will be in development essentially, but you know, we'll be manually running scripts for this, by the looks of it. Like I said, again, it's kind of all assumptions at this point, but I've had a kind of brief read through, and it looks like that might be the approach. So let's go to portfolio feed 2, and let's just like spin up what we've got. Oh, we're in a read-only editor right now. Thanks. Terminal. Okay. I feel like my terminal's gone a bit weird. Oh, maybe it was that low before, I don't know. I might set up things. No, we're good. Oh, actually, what I'm going to do... Bear with me, I'm just like deleting some stuff, and we in? Okay, I think we can go for like maybe like another 45 minutes max. And I forgot to alert people on Twitter that we're live. Like, I mean, I don't think it shouldn't make too much of a difference, but like, it's kind of nice just to let people know, you know. But there we go, live now, like 45 minutes after. Right, so, all right. What I was just trying to do real quick is, oh, didn't mean to do that. What I was just trying to do is basically, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm trying to, I should do. I'm just trying to go to the Chakra UI docs, and what I want to find is some ideas about working with the base. Okay, so is it customized theme? No, it's something to do with like styles. I feel like it's style props, maybe. No. Right. Component style. So this is kind of what I've been reading. So Chakra has something called a style config, which is a theme and API which makes component styling easy to understand and maintain. So that's essentially what it is. I'm reading that straight from the docs. Yeah, so you have like base styles and modifier styles. So like this is what I was mentioning before. So you have like small, medium, and large sizes, right? Chakra has their own default values for these sizes, because let's remember, like, these essentially are design tokens in a way. Like, small is pointing to a value essentially, like whether that's a rem value or pixel value. Same with medium and large, like they're all pointing to these values that have already been set somewhere, right? We, as the users of this like system of Chakra UI system, we aren't exposed to that, right? I mean, I'm not sure if there's a way that you could like see all of this data, but like right now, like we aren't exposed to that. We just have the names, and that's all we need, right? If you're using Chakra for a project, especially if you wanted to build something out quickly, all you need to know about is that there are these different sizes, and they cover different use cases. So like in the same way, we're obviously leveraging this idea of having these tokens in place for values. So we will have small, medium, and large, like, because this is what we did in our Figma file. We had, if we go back to our component library, we have small, medium, and large. Like if we click on the button in particular, you can see the variants. We've got the size, we've got type, and we've got state. So all of these different things will come into play, but for now, let's focus on like size. What's cool, if we scroll a bit more down, it kind of tells you a bit about single part and multi-part components. So like, it's cool. Like there's a lot of functionality that you can build into this, and I think going forward, it would be really interesting to see how we could potentially build out more like complex structures. But right now, we're just going to focus on super basic stuff. So the basic API for styling a single part component looks like this, basically. So you've got a base style, you've got some variations, styles for visual style variations. So yeah, those are size variations, like small, medium, large. Variants are more like like we defined in the Figma file, like hover. Essentially the type of, like, whether it's outline or solid, link, ghost, that kind of thing. And default props. So this is what, like, the initial, when you call that initial button, what it's going to look like out of the box. Of course, you can always extend it. You can always customize it. Like, that's fine. But, it's you always have to have some default props in there. And I feel like this is a required thing, but Like, how could it not be? But I don't know that for sure. So, you know, I won't make any assumptions on that. Like so. But this is just an example. Like they said, it's a contrived implementation of the design. So here you have the font size, and then it tells you the pixels. So what would be a good idea right now is to go into our Figma file and start having a look at these. But right now, I'm just going to copy this code and start having a look at. It's a bit better. Okay. So right now we're gonna go into our thing. I'm just curious. Do we make a? Okay. Let's see what changed. So anyone that might not have been here last time, we essentially, we were looking at like this Git workflow, like the conventional commits workflow. Let's at a few tools, so like using it in tandem with obviously this nice Git integration in VS Code, which is really nice for. Yeah, okay. So this is what we did. We changed the storybook theme. Okay, so let's add both of those. So what we can now do is we can hit Control-Shift-P. We can click conventional commits. It's going to ask us what's going on here, like what is this? And I'll just put this down to essentially being a chore. Yeah, it doesn't modify source or test files. So no scope, Gitmoji. So what are we doing here? So again, it's like a config. Okay, add or update configuration files. So we can write a short imperative. So here we just want to update storybook config with Chakra or for use with Chakra UI. Straightforward enough. I'm using the imperative tense. We're saying update instead of updated. So that's just something to note as well. We don't need a long description right now for this, so we would just hit enter again, listen to bring changes, notes, so we can just hit enter again. And that is all committed for us, so that's all good. Okay, so now we can just get rid of that. And we can come out of this back into our folder system. And now we can carry on working. So yeah, let's get back into our theme. So right now, I don't really see any need to separate this. We can separate this a bit later on. But what like I can do is that I can like separate this in terms of like where this is. Yeah, so we can just write this like somewhere like down here. Can we? Yeah, I don't see why not. Well, if anything's wrong, it would tell us. Okay, so const button equals. I'm just looking at if we have to. Right now, it doesn't look like we have to do anything with style config, so we'll just keep going. So we'll go with this. So, like we saw before, let's kind of just get these in here. Let's actually just copy all of this because wrong place. Okay. We can kind of these comments in here now just for clarity. So we've got our base style, sizes, variants, and default props. So now we can start to look into the Figma file. So okay, base style. So base style. So this is like, yeah, this is looking at things like font weight, text transform, and uppercase. It's cool, right? But like, yeah, so this is what I mean. Like this is where the idea of actually having something where you can integrate Figma styles into this dynamically, and like have them update dynamically. Like, I think the power of this is like, it's insane. If you come to think about like a big a big project, like an actual fully built out design system, you know, where you're using components across like multiple products and across an entire like organization, and you know, there's always these little details that might need sort of fine tuning, and like every time that happens, then there has to be this approval process, and it has to pass through all these channels to get to like it being in the code. And it would be nice, even though you may still have this approval process where like you have to go through and it has to get approved, like once that's done, it would be so nice to just like be able to run a script that then just like refetches and updates all of the styles from your Figma file from that single source of truth, and it reduces the chances of error of things getting messed out, or like there maybe been some confusion about like the implementation of some different changes on like a particular component. I think there's a lot of power in it, and I'm really interested to look more into it. So I will definitely update you guys on how that goes for me, because I'm going to try it out, and you know, I'll see if it can work for this project. Maybe it would be better to work to use on a bigger project, but nevertheless, I think there's like, you know, there's no bad time to like, you know, test things out just to see whether or not they work. So we can go into the Figma file now and look at our base style. So we're looking for like font weight, the transform, and the border radius. So okay, so we're taking this like default button. So this is our most primary button. Just this guy right at the top, large primary default. So if we actually take a deeper dive into this and we click on here, so it's going to show us down the right side here, we've got these different style things. So let's just put you, okay, I don't think that's going to work over there. But anyway, oh, that works nicely. Okay. And then we can kind of just switch between all three if we need. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a little gap here so we can get through to the Figma file. That's funny. I'm going to hit Control, click this again. It's going to bring up this style. And then we can look at what we need. So we're looking for the font weight. So that bold, text transform. So if we go back to the Figma file, we can actually find the text transform through these three dots. So we've got type details, and then here you can see we've got like letter casing. So cool. Sorry, I'm just looking at some stuff. So yeah, I think, I mean, are we making it uppercase? I don't really know. Like, I think for now we'll go with uppercase. It might change, I don't know. But I'm just going to kind of stay true to what we've got in Figma for now. Just because I don't want to, you know, confuse things a bit too much. So if we look back at here, you know, we can just see that it's just an object that's got a few different keys. And then our border radius. So, you know, this border radius as well is something that we will have to consider setting. And I don't know, it actually raises the question of whether we should do this now. I think it might be better to have this predefined. So we'll come back to that in just a second. One thing that's important in customizing the theme is customizing some of these base things. So obviously we've customized like the color palette, but here, yeah, so we've got like, okay, we've got the the default thing for component style. That's cool. So for example, we can override. Okay, so guys, just notice something. We can actually just get rid of this. Yeah, so if we actually just get rid, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Right, let's take you and let's do that. So what we can actually do right now, I'm going to do this after styles, components. We can put button in there. Okay. Oh, my bad. Need to put it after. Yeah, got you. Thanks. It's telling us where to put it. So yeah, we can actually just edit these things in here. So we can just do font weight. This is cool. We can do bold. What were the other things that we had? We had so we can actually, we can't scroll it out right now because we're in a different page. I should have probably opened up like a different page. What I'm going to do is just go to component style and control click. Okay, so now we're back to this one. You kind of just want to, yeah, okay, so text transform. So we'll have that as uppercase for now. Oh, sorry, not none, uppercase for now. And then border radius. So before we touch the border radius, like I was saying, we want to actually like edit that. I know I've definitely seen it somewhere here before as well. At least I think I have. Oh, borders. What was that? Ah, okay. So this is interesting. So yeah, they do recommend actually splitting these things out. I would say that kind of, it makes sense to me to do things in that way. You create a theme folder in this place. So for now, though, I think we can just leave it. I'm interested to see the border override. So I'm guessing like really you can just override anything. So I'm gonna say borders. Okay. So let's have a look. So let's see if we can have a look at the actual. Again, I'm gonna have to control click this. We can actually look at the default thing. This is usually a good place to start if there's something you're not sure about and you want to see the original implementation and you want to look at how you can customize this. So if we keep going down here, we get this example theme object, we get colors, we get fonts, font sizes, font weights, line heights, letter spacing, nothing that we want right now, breakpoints there, all the spacing, you can get a visual representation of that as well, which is nice. And let's keep going. So here we are. So border radius. Cool. So under like, is it radii? Is that how you say it, radii? And so what I'm looking for is a base of two pixels. So we can just do like a simple rem2px. And I'll just use ninja units. Let's go with, oh, where did I go? I'm just trying to find, so it wasn't that one. Oh no, it was this. So 0.125. So it is going to be that one. So essentially it's going to be small. So like that's just kind of, and small is going to be, that's going to be kind of for everything like that we. So if I go to like border radius, now I can say SM, and now like that default border radius is going to be 2px. Okay, so that's our base style. This is like the button base. We can look at it. So here in our code, it's almost like the base of this, and we had this somewhere. This is like these are our button bases. Obviously, this is a bit more like, it kind of takes into account everything. But like, yeah, it kind of, it's essentially like pointing to the base structure, like what font weight, text transform, and border radius. But it doesn't have anything to do with the size specifically, because we're doing that separately here, right? So this is kind of where we can now look at sizes. And going back here, you know, we can get got rid of that, but it's all good. We can just get that back. We can get a better idea of what that might look like here in terms of sizing. So look, we see small, medium, and large. So this is cool, and this is where we can now look into Figma a bit more in a bit more depth and actually figure out, okay, what's going on here. So we've got our button bases here. Let's actually just go into the primary components. So we've got our okay. So you can see 24 on either side, 12 on both sides. Now, there was, so this is a good point of learning as well, and understanding the differences between, and this might sound like it doesn't matter, but it's the differences between the border radius on Figma and in CSS, and how they actually differ, and how they're different essentially. And that like I said, it might not sound like it's important at all in the slightest, but it actually is when it comes to creating things, like especially if you're going for something that's pixel perfect. It's a useful thing to know that, like, yeah, it doesn't, there's kind of different like workings for each thing. So I'm gonna try and find, this is designsystems.com, by the way. It's a great resource for anybody who's interested and wants to learn more about like design systems and sort of the thinking behind them, like some of the key aspects such as spacing, iconography, typography, content strategy. They have some real comprehensive guides on those. But what we're most interested right now is, I think it was space grids and layouts here. So they talk about border placement inside or outside. So outline elements like buttons or cards can throw a wrench in things, right? So how do you count on that 2px border? It's counted differently in code than it is in Figma, which is also true. So this is showing us here as well. So very, very good visual representation of what's going on. It boggled my mind a little bit, because I don't know, I just didn't really understand like what it meant. I didn't understand what was going on. So essentially, the difference is like, the difference lies in the padding. The difference lies in how, like, the value of the padding. And like, yeah, so because you can have an internal border, you can have a border that's inside, you can have a border that's outside. In CSS, it's always outside, essentially, I think. But in Figma, you can choose for it to be inside, and obviously that then like inherits the size of the button itself. So that's why you can see here it's 16, because where it's inside, that border, it's not an extension of the size of the component itself. That makes sense. It takes up 2px inwards, which is why we have only 14 here and 16 here. We have 2 less pixels inside, because the border actually takes up that space. So if we look at this, we can actually probably see, I think this is probably inside, and it's not even on this part of it. I think it's here, so we can see it's inside. Now we can make that outside, and that changes things. Like, it does change things. We can make it inside, and yeah, so really the idea, like, it's just understanding that there's that difference there. Perhaps there's a reason you're working with it inside. Like, sometimes You know, I mean, I was going to give the example of focus. Like sometimes you might want the focus to be the outer, you might want an inner one, but you can't even create two strokes as far as I understand on one style. One style on one like element. So I think actually the idea of having one inside and outside is pretty redundant. You could probably have them both on the outside, but like, yeah, so it measures the element and not its border. Like in the web, this is handled in two different ways: the box size and property, the content box to. Okay. So yeah, it's definitely a consideration. It's definitely a design consideration we need to have when we're looking at or thinking of so as we can see, well, excuse me, I'm yawning. So yeah, I'm gonna start like rounding off this soon as well. But we're making decent progress, I think, for sure. So if we actually look at maybe this one mixed, yeah. So we've got 12, 12, 24, 24. So let's go with that for now. 12, 12, 24, 24. If we run into problems, we run into problems. We can fix those as we go along. But and that's for the medium. So what we want to do actually, we want to test this at each side. So let's start with small. The best way to do this, like I just kind of showed you, is to grab is to grab our small primary. So this is the base. This is the part. This is the button base which exists here. So we could just grab that, but it's all good. We just grab it from here. And so what we can do now is we can go into this, which is the alignment and padding, which you can see it's 8. So if there's a value here, this means it's the value all the way around, so we don't have to look into here. It just saves a little bit of time sometimes. But if we say we change it to 12, that's now going to come up with mix, which means, okay, it's probably worth looking into because not everything is equal. But if everything is equal, we will see a number in this little box here. So the padding around all of this is 8. And we can implement that. And again, like if we need some ideas, we've got some stuff on font size as well. So like, again, so this is where font size is coming into it, and we haven't really set our font sizes, like, or we haven't checked if our font sizes are aligning with the font sizes we have in the Figma file. Yeah, that's another thing. So these are all the considerations that need to be taken. So if I come now to here, okay, so cool. What I kind of want to do here, even if I actually go into this is the root of the root. So like what I want to do here, I can just say like, yo, if I go into all of these, you can see, okay, except for where they've been overridden, you can see like, yo, okay, it's just kind of cool. So wow, your boy is tired. Right, so let's not get confused here. Okay, let's start here then, and we can go. Okay, so that's obviously a different font. Is it a different font? I think so. Let's just saw it at regular. So that's 12. But you can see right now, like, you're starting to get a better idea of how things rely on other things. So really, when I'm coming to look at this now, it probably would have made a bit more sense to maybe have done the types first, the font sizes first, but it's not game over. What we can just do for now is just work with what we've got in the theme. So like I said, I mentioned the default theme that includes our font sizes. So if I go back up here, we should find them here. So again, we're getting things in rem, so we can come back to our rem thing, which I've closed down now, but that's fine. So 0.875 is 14px. 0.75, I'm gonna take a wild guess that it's 12. So we're gonna say extra small. Let's do that. Oh no, it's not font sizes, it's font size. Ah, okay, my bad. I'm just kind of jumping ahead at things here. So oh, even the typing's going off now. Yep. Definitely like falling asleep here, even though I'm not. I promise. Okay. Right. No, that makes a bit more sense. Yeah, of course. We need to define this SM. Font size. And now we need to look at the space. So this is actually good because like it's forcing us now to use chakras. It's forced me to understand better, because before, actually, I've got a bit of a confession to make. So I know people from like Tailwind would love this about about React. Really, I'm tired. I know people from Tailwind, or that have come from using Tailwind, would love this about Chakra, that you have these tokens that you use, or these numbers that we use to define the spacing, instead of having to say like 8px, 16px, 24, blah blah blah, and so on. You can just instead say 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10, whatever. And so yeah, actually this is pushing me to learn a bit more about this, and so I can't even complain. So like I've seen it here, and I can come back down here. Okay, cool. So you get an idea, right? Like, so by default, these spacing values can be referenced by that. So yeah, if I like, to give a value of 4, that's 1 rem, so that's 16. So what we're essentially looking for is 12 and 24. So remember, we know 12 is 0.75. So we can actually just say, so px is across those, that's 24. So we're looking for essentially 1.5, because 1 rem is 16 pixels. You half that, you get 8. So 1.5, you add 16 plus 8 is 24. So we're going to essentially say that is 1.5 rem. And hopefully by the end of this, like shortly, we're going to be able to see something. We're going to be able to see something, which will be hopefully using Storybook for that. Yeah, I feel like the pressure of time is closing in on me. 0.75 rem. And so we're just giving it the padding that we had here. Okay, so that's all we're doing. So styles for the size variations, so small, font size, small, px. Oh no, font size, remember, actually was extra small. Wanted to be 12, so cool. We could, like, if we wanted to, we could actually just put the value in here. Like, it's, that's possible too. But we can just stick with this. We can try and be cool and just no. But I mean, for explicitness, it's always best to go with what's easiest. Until, like, if I change, the font size system, because you can, like, if I end up changing it, you know, to work better with the ideas I have of implementing this theme, then this will change with that. But for now, like, I'm just happy to leave it as is. So if we come back to like this file now and go back to the component, you can see that we've kind of just set that up now. And now we can do medium. So this will hopefully be a bit bigger, a bit quicker. I can just copy and paste all of these. And what's nice as well is that I can just then go and copy this for large sizes. Got the same name there, so you can't have that. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Okay, so if we go back to the Figma file, let's get some info. So yeah, that's 16 pixels. Which I believe is medium. I'm going to take that like wild guess or assumption, whatever you want to call it. We can double check it though. Yeah, 1 rem, so that's all good. And then let's go back to Figma. So this is what I mean. This is where it'd be interesting to have like the API. You know, if we can get the styles for this, and we could potentially find a way to do things programmatically. Okay. 8, 8, 16, 16. So we're gonna have 1 rem, 0.5 rem. Okay, so that's the medium one kind of done. So then font size, let's look at large now. 18, so I've got a feeling that it's large in at 1.125. Let's check our converter just to be sure. And that's true. Man, so okay. So we're gonna make that large then, so that works. And now we can go back into the Figma file, nicely tucked away there. Always find that funny. Large primary base. It's mixed, okay. So we've got the same thing as the smaller guy. Oh, excuse me. And that's the same as that. So we can just actually leave it. So let's have a look. So we've got variants, we've got default props still to do. I'm just gonna grab some water real quick. Right, so man, I am knackered. It's been a long week. Okay, so what am I even looking for? Right, let's go back. Oh, this is nice. So we've got like our standard variants. It's very helpful. So what we can do essentially is, this can be helpful. Like this can help us to create our primary. So like maybe the way we work with this might not be so like linear as to, you know, creating like 2 different buttons here. I don't think it would make sense to do that because we have all the base sizes out of the box here. We get this from this, so it would make more sense to add that layer of I don't want to say layer of abstraction because it's not really abstraction. That layer of like separation above this one. Like this is more creating the foundational layer. Like, okay, this is the font sizes in all the fundamental button components, like all of them, regardless of whether, you know, they're the primary or secondary one, whether they've got an icon in them, like whatever it is. This is always going to be like the root, styles, basically. That's kind of what we're looking at here. And so even with the outline, it's just better to set that here, setting whether it's primary or secondary or not. Like this is all stuff that we can do with like args and storybooks document, and we can then build that out like in its own file as well, essentially. So let's move forward swiftly so that we can kind of draw this to a close. So right now we've got variants, outline. Yeah, so we can do this here. We can and so I think our border was our border 2px. I'm gonna say it was 2px. Solid. Oh no, my bad. Did I not even? Okay, yeah, I'm definitely tired. Okay, so we're saying like 2px solid. Border color. Oh dear. Okay. This is gonna be. Can we just use our default dark? Hopefully that'll work. And then let's say, my bad, default dark. Of course, like solid BG. So BG is default dark as well. Default dark, and color is default dot light. I hope it reads these, because I remember there was a point where I was trying to reference some things in a theme, my last project, and it wasn't really referencing things. I think maybe it was typo or something I'd done wrong, but I never seemed to get to the bottom of that like issue. So I don't know. All right, so we can just kind of leave that for now as the base styles. That's all good. So if we even look at this, like the way we're looking at this right now is all of the things that we're defining in the theme right now is everything that's essential to like each of these variants fundamentally. So like the of course the size is important to them. So like the size is going to kind of come into things, whether they've got the outline or whether they've got this default look is going to, like, it's every single component has that at the fundamental at its fundamental structure. It has whether it's outline or default. So that's another like fundamental kind of building block. And then what was the other one? Like like font size, and whether it's uppercase or none. We've got all these different aspects of things that are important for each component. So that's what we're doing in the theme. And then where we want to come on to actually creating essentially these like different types and states and things like that, and messing with all of that stuff, we can then build some abstraction on top of that, essentially. So okay, cool. So what we're looking for, what we actually know, not looking for, we're thinking about, so what we're going to have in here for the default props. So the default size of variant value, so it tells you as well, which is nice. So the default size of course is going to be medium. The default variant, which is going to be, I think, is outline our primary. Outline is a primary. Wow, these things I read in my mind. Okay. So let's see how we could potentially get on with this. So, do we have time to write a story? Right. What we're gonna do, so let's stage those changes. Right now we're not gonna add the commit. Okay, so what I want to do first, I want to test this out. I was gonna do this in Storybook, but it looks like we're gonna have to do this next time. It's so funny. You know what? Let's do it now. Let's do it now. Okay, let's do it now. So I'm going to create a components folder. And in that components folder, we're going to have a new folder called button. Yeah, I don't know why this happens. Yeah, undo. Like, I always wonder, like, am I doing something wrong here? Okay, we're all good there. Here we've got an issue there. Yes, please. All right, yeah, there's something I do that messes things up. Oh, not necessarily. Actually, hold on. Actually, there's a way. I don't want to mess with it there. Just like a way that you can do. Just like that. No. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to waste any more time. What? Oh, this is a nice beat. No, I'm not trying to do anything in this file. I'm trying to mess it. Okay, it's obviously not having it. Oh, definitely not. Okay, so we're just gonna have to bear with this for now. I'm gonna create another file which is gonna be called like I'm gonna call it like test button dot stories. Oh dear. .js. So this is gonna create a button for us to essentially store out. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just going to create an index.js to be annoying. Does it still do it? Yeah, no, it does do it. Okay, I hate that folder structure. It just really gets on my nerves. So I like try and just get rid of it as much as I can. So let's import statement, Chakra. I think that's the right place. Button. So what we can now do is we can just say const. Oh no, it's better still. Export default. I don't know, is that right? No, export default function test button. I don't know if I want. No, let's do a named export just because I don't know. So okay, all we're doing, I didn't really need to do that. I can actually just do this instead because it's basically one line. So return. Yeah, I suppose actually no, we're not returning anything but the button. And that's literally that. So if we just save that up. Yeah, that's a bit better. Thanks, prettier. It can tell I'm tired. It can tell it can tell. I had to even think about if I said that right. So what we can do now is we can import yeah. I don't know if we have to do that. I think we can get away with just doing the dot. I can't remember. And we need to do, actually, what was, yeah. There we go, test button. So that we're writing our first story right now. So I've got this far without the docs, that's good. I'm now having to like have a quick glance over. Don't you mind me? What are we on right now? 38. Okay, cool. We're gonna round this off in a moment. So, so yeah. Next we need to do like once we've done the import, we need to export default. So this is just what allows like Storybook to see this is how things are actually documented. So we have two things here, two keys of this default. It's the title and it's no, not that kind of title. We have a title and we have a component. Okay, but I can't spell, so that's not happening. Okay, so as for the title, this is just like the name. So I'm just gonna say test button. And the component obviously is the test button component. Okay. Okay, and now we can just like, we just create like a simple story. We can create something simpler. Okay, let's actually. Yeah, we have to just export, right? So I'm just gonna say export const primary. So this is just gonna export like a primary version equals blah blah blah. Oh, my bad. Missed out something important. Oh, sorry, test button. I was going to say test. Does it have to? Sometimes like I'm just so confused by what's happening. I don't think that's correct. I think it's being weird. Alright, should we try and run Storybook and see if we didn't like mess everything up? If so, we should be able to see like are we seeing the change? Yeah, we're seeing the track. It's real nice. Let's save this to my Beats to Code 2 playlist. Check it out if you so wish. I'm actually having some ideas about building a project based around Spotify playlists. Playlist creation is like a nice pastime for me. So, and I like to create projects that I find fun. So at some point when I have a bit more time, I'm gonna hopefully build that out. Okay, so what's going on? Yikes, something went wrong with these stories. Yeah. I'm just trying to remember like when when like I was doing this, or was that, I think it's when I was testing this out, I'm gonna have a quick look at another project, so just bear with me. And if I can't find a resolve like after that, then what we'll do is that we'll just tackle this first thing next time. I wanted to get onto this earlier, but I ended up rambling, and it happens. And I just like to just allow it to happen sometimes, just because, you know, I suppose it's all informative. I do want to try and get better at staying on track a little bit, but I don't know. I just wanted to kind of elaborate on the design stuff earlier on. So yeah, apologies for anyone that kind of wants this to go quicker. Yeah, I'm trying to. That's something I'm consciously trying to do. Is just speed this up a little bit and you know, go into depth where I need to, but just try and have a bit more of a cutoff. I definitely need to do that. So I'm just looking at another project right now. Next basics, and I am lost. So button base. Okay, this is gonna be weird. I'm just gonna run this storybook and see if I fixed, like, because I remember I was having an issue where my component just wasn't showing up, nowhere to be seen, invisible. Like here she, like she's not there. I cannot see. Like these are all the default versions of this. Okay. So I'm gonna say, would you like to do it on this port instead? I'm gonna say why. Oh. Let's see. Drink some water in the meanwhile. Keep hydrated. Oh, it appears under. Nice, man. Okay, let's remember how let's remember how we did this then. So that's the thingy button. Where's, so I've got button base. Oh right. Yeah, button base. You know what I might just do? I'm just going to copy and paste some code real quick. I don't necessarily think this will work, but I literally thought we'd had it for a second there. No, I think it's something to do. I like this beat, man. It's on again. No, I remember there was something like and I still need to document, even though like I'm doing this live stuff. I can come back to this, but like I feel like I'm still gonna definitely get a lot of help out of still documenting stuff just to make this process a bit quicker. I'm just trying to remember like what it was. Was it importing React from React? Let's go into the storybook, like preview or something. Yeah, I feel like I actually genuinely feel like it was something as simple as like this. I feel like this. It's gonna clear it up. Not necessarily. Ah, was it this? Main. No, I feel like I copied all of that correctly. Let me just make sure that like all is good, you know. I feel like I need to kill this as well, because I feel like, I mean, this is just something that I've learned from Electron, like when you mess with like a main process. I know it's not like a main process in that sense, but it's called main, so I always feel like, okay, I should probably kill the server like if I make any changes. Okay, we still haven't got any changes yet anyway, so I can't remember, I'm not sure like what exactly is contributing towards like this not working in the way that I expected. And that's completely fine, like honestly. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Oh, I suppose. Let me do something else. I don't know. Tricky. Oh, unless unless it's something like this. As I don't know. I've got a feeling it might be like something silly like that. Remember what was it again that sorry, I'm just looking at my other project. Oh, nothing actually renders out of this one. Oh no, hold on. Yeah, literally nothing renders. I just want proof to see it's coming through. Right. Yeah, we'll look at this next time. But I really feel like it's time to cut off. It's like something where you always want to go back and just try that one more thing, but like really I think I should give it a rest. I'm tired. But yeah, we'll like I'll have a look over this tomorrow and see where we're at, and I might potentially stream tomorrow, so anyone that potentially catches this anytime between now and then, I'm likely to be on probably a bit later, like towards later in the evening, maybe like between 8 and 9. I'm gonna try not to stream too late because I need to kind of sleep on time. Back to work on Monday. It's gonna be a busy week, but I'm also wanting to stream as often as I can. Every night or every other night if possible. I want to be streaming a bit more consistently next week. It started off well this week and just kind of trailed off towards the end. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, I think next time we'll be primarily looking at writing a successful storybook, and just to kind of validate the styles of our button, without having to like kind of put it in the code right now. We're just kind of testing things out like visually, manually, just testing out like how things are looking. Once we can get that get that test written, what's going to be cool is that we can start to then build out our button component into its kind of different variants and states and such, so that we can, because essentially what we're doing is that we're using Chakra as like a foundational framework to build something that's a bit more like opinionated to this project, because obviously I have these styles that are very specific to the project, and Chakra is really great for having that kind of style guide or base design system around your like project, where you can just you don't have to think about all these things. But if you've got a project like this one where I am thinking about these things, it's nice to have something like Chakra that kind of gives you, it lays out all the groundwork for you, in terms of customizing styles. And so the idea here really that I'm trying to encapsulate is that we're then just trying to narrow that into what we've done in Figma, because obviously what we've done in Figma is a lot more specific to what there is out there in Chakra, because Chakra has to cater to all these different projects. You know, it is a full design system essentially when we look at it from that perspective. This is essentially, I'm taking a style guide, which is like usually a subsection of a design system. So we're like scaling things down. And so the idea next time is to use Storybook to help us do that by, sort of like building out our components, in the sense that we're going to take those button sizes, see what they're looking like, see if it's matching up with stuff in Figma there and then. We haven't even sort of moved those components into any pages. We haven't built any components out of them yet. We're just going to be manually testing them and until we can actually get essentially that pixel perfect aspect to those buttons, and then we can kind of move forward. But that hopefully shouldn't take too long. So yeah, we'll be writing stories for those, for like the primary and secondary types, so that we can switch between them. We're going to create some controls that will allow us to switch between that primary and secondary button, and then we can also look at the states too, and look at the different types too. So it should be fun. So join us again tomorrow night. I'll be aiming to be on around 9 p.m. So do check out for that if you are seeing this. And that's mainly it really. We're just going to be working through Storybook, and hopefully if we make some good progress, what we can actually do is just start on the homepage. Just say why not and go for it. I think as far as things go, I think we should have the text styles in by then as well. We're going to aim to get all that done. Shouldn't take long. So we can sort of start the actual building of the homepage, and what we'll be doing from then on out is we'll split the repo up into what I mentioned probably a couple of videos ago now, which was to have our master and main branch sitting at the top, which is what we're on right now, but it's fine because we're setting up. So I'm just going to allow this to be for the setup, but once we get into actually writing our code, or writing features, we're going to split this off into development, and then those feature branches. So for the homepage, it will be like a homepage feature branch that we'll work on until completion essentially. So it should be cool to work through that. And potentially see some people in the stream and get some questions, and just learn more really about Next.js. So thanks for joining, and anyone that's watched this, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. We'll make sure that we kind of push off and get our feet off the ground a bit earlier in the next one, but nevertheless, it was good to kind of go through those design bits. I think that was kind of important to recap on. So thanks a lot guys, and catch you in the next one.